Hey everyone, this is a quick tutorial here to get you set up playing Warmaster on Tabletop Simulator. This is by no means a comprehensive how-to on Tabletop Simulator. This is just to get you up and running with a few tips and tricks to smooth out your experience with the game. So the first thing you're going to want to do is go ahead and download Tabletop Simulator on Steam. Once you've downloaded it, you will be able to go to the Tabletop Simulator page on Steam, and you'll go to the workshop, and you're going to search the keyword Warmaster, and you're going to get a bunch of results here. What you're going to want to do is subscribe to a bunch of these different items, and what that's going to do is populate it into your game so that you can call them up when you want to play. The key one you need here is the Warmaster Revolution gaming table. And then you can then subscribe by clicking a little check mark that'll be here. On the armies, you can get them all. There's no reason not to, but check back as there's only a few armies in here at the time of this recording, so more may be coming forward. Once you've subscribed, you're then going to open up your Tabletop Simulator game. When you're going to create a game or join a game, depending on if you're playing with a friend who's already got one set up or you're making one. But first, we need to do something really quick to get ourselves set up after subscribing to all those. So what we're going to do just right now is we're going to create a single player game. You're going to go here, you click on your workshop. Now I've set this up in a separate folder, but if you're new to Tabletop Simulator, this may be all you have. So what you're going to want to do first before playing your first game is you're going to create a couple assets for yourself that you can use to drop into your game. And basically what we're going to do, we're gonna do this with the we'll do it with the dwarves, right? So we're going to click on the dwarf. We're going to load it. So this is just the dwarf army models. It's going to take a minute here. So what we're going to want to do is we're going to want to access these in our game. Now we could select all of them and make an asset and drop them in. But I found that there's some limits to the amount of, I think it's polygon based, I'm not quite sure. But if you were to pre-set up your army, you might not actually be able to get everything in one go. So what I found is what we're going to do is we're going to create a little asset that we'll be able to drop into our game and then pull the stuff out and make our armies when we play. So what you're going to want to do here is up at the top, you're going to go to your objects button. You're going to go to components. It's going to bring up this little window. Go to tools. And then you want this bag. You're going to click, drag, and drop it on the table. Then we'll close out of that window. So now basically what we're going to do is we're going to fill this bag up with the stuff. And then we're going to use this as basically a saved asset for later on. So we don't need all of this. We only need basically one of each because these are all duplicates. There's no difference in the modeling or anything like that. So just to save. So what we're going to do is we're going to grab a cannon and the flame cannon here. Once we click, drag, select those, we're going to click and hold, and then it's going to snag all of them. If you shake it, it will it'll try and combine things. And then you hover over till it highlights, let go, and it's going to drop into the bag. So what we want to do is we basically want to grab one of everything, and we'll grab this other model because it's cool looking. So basically we have 13 items here. What you're then going to do is you're going to right click on it, and you're going to do save object. I've created a separate folder for Warmaster, and I'm just going to name this my naming convention Warmaster Revolution Dwarf Army. Save that. Okay. Now, once that's done, we're going to go back here. We're going to go back to our workshop. And now we're going to click on the Warmaster Revolution gaming table, and we're going to load that in. Okay, this little pop-up here for the army builder. So this is what it's going to look like when you first load in. There's a couple things that you'll need to do. First is you're going to click on your name. You're going to click a side. You're either going to be blue or red. So we'll be blue here. Now what this is going to do is these blue boxes are hidden deployment. So we can deploy our units in this box, and if you are a red player, you won't be able to see them, and as blue player, we won't be able to see red. But what we want to do is we want to grab that dwarf asset that we just talked about. So if I go back to my objects, my saved objects, my Warmaster folder, I've got a couple set up here. But you see, if I grab the dwarf army and drop it in, I can either right-click and do a search and see all the items that are in there, and then I can just simply click drag what I want. Or you can just hover over and it'll sort of grab whatever is the top. You can just drag and pull out things. So setting up your armies, one thing you want to start to do, go up here to options, go to grid, and see where it says snapping. Turn on both just for the time being. We'll close that. What that's going to allow us to do is snap these to the grid lines. So what we can do is we can hover over the stand, press Control C to copy, and then we'll just go over here and Control V, so we can make a full 3-stand unit. Okay, and then those snap nice and neat in a line. What we can then do is we can select the whole thing, do Control C again, and then we can duplicate entire units if we need to. Now, if you want to differentiate the units, you can select them and right-click once they're all selected, and you can do a color tint. So we'll say red, hit apply. So now what it's done is it's made this base red so we can differentiate the different units, so you can change all these colors. If you select them all, right now they're all separate, but if I default press Q or E, it's going to rotate them around based on the number of degrees that are shown here. So you can change that, but this is just to shift them. So we'll shift them all around. Got him off. And we'll select them, rotate them back around. Okay. So we can now kind of set these up as a brigade. What we could then do is, if we're going to continue to build the armies, we can set up everything. And then when we're done setting up armies, we can go back into options. We can turn off snapping, and we can turn off show grids. And we're basically ready to play at this point. One thing I recommend is this weightlifter guy. Make sure this is set to the lowest setting. Basically what that does is when you click and drag a unit, it's how high it picks it up. And if you set this really tall, it starts to sometimes get a little difficult to get things in the right place. So I find setting this to the lowest setting helps keep everything in line. There are some other assets on here. I'll go really quickly, how to roll dice and things like that. So you're going to click drag some dice in here. And then when you want to roll, you just click drag select all of them, and hotkey is R. You can press it multiple times and then release, and it's going to roll. And there's a nice little tracker here that's going to tell you what you've rolled. There is a little bit of panning back and forth. If you want to make it a little easier on yourself, what you can do is set up some key views. So what I'll do here is, looking at the main screen, if I press Control 1, it's going to save a camera view. And then, for the dice tray, I can zoom in here and do Control 2. Now if I press Shift 1, it goes back to the main view. If I press Shift 2, it goes back to the dice tray. So as you're playing the game, you can quickly snap back and forth between the different areas that you need to review as you're playing. We've got a couple measuring tools. You can click drag them. Just like the units, you can hover over them, press Q or E, rotate them around, and this will let you move your units on the board. That is kind of the beginning to get you started. There are some rule books here, and these pads are selected to the Warmaster Army Selector. So you can make your armies right here on the fly, which is a nice feature. And we're stuck. But I think that is a good amount of basics to get everyone started playing some Warmaster while we deal with this COVID-19 crisis and we're all social distanced. All right, take care, everybody, and enjoy.